Hey guys, another video for our modern Japanese architecture playlist and another update for the shenanigans going on next door to the old farmhouse. So of the 4 new houses they're building, the one closest to us has been sold. So they've been pushing really hard to get it finished. Obviously so they can get some money because they've spent 6 months faffing around here. And obviously selling one of these houses and settling on it would mean that they could get some cash. About $230,000 for this one apparently. So they've been going really hard. They've sort of been ignoring the other three pretty much and just going really hard on this one to get it finished, right? So here's where they got to. Oh, just a matter of interest too. Have a look in there. Look at the big window. These designs are like a set design. Whether you build 1 or 4 or where you build them, doesn't matter. It's like a out-of-the-box IKEA house, right? So they've got the big window there at the side that opens directly onto the house that's 1 metre away on the other side. They've also got this front big window there facing west. And we know from our own experience that it gets really hot in summer facing west. And all they've got at the front of the house is bitumen and an exposed wall with a window. So it's going to be really hot in there. This is an odd thing too. They always do this. The electricity meter, instead of putting it flush on the wall and concealing those cables, they mount it at 90 degrees like that so that the meter reader can just stand there at the front of the house and read it. But if they mounted it flush on the wall, the meter reader would only have to take an extra step. But they always do this with new houses. So you've got the mains cables exposed out like that and this funny thing sticking out 90 degrees from the house. They always do it. Every new house we've seen, they do that. Ugly, isn't it? And just illogical, you know. So then we're watching this guy. Last time we showed you that the fibro cement panels that they sheet the outside of the house with, they clad the outside of the house with, are put up with nail guns. So then they get this guy to go around with his little tube of silicon and put a little bit of silicon on the head of each nail, right? Which he spent a couple of days doing that with his little tube of silicon. That seemed to go on forever. Every time we looked out, there he was with his little tube of silicon dabbing at the nail heads. And then this guy went round with have a look at it, it's like a nail brush for doing nail polish. And he had to go around with his little nail brush there after the silicon had dried and paint with his little nail brush over the top of the bits of silicon. Now, how long is that going to last? In Japan, where we have 40-degree summers and typhoons and freezing winters with snow and ice, and how long's his little dab of paint and the other guy's little dab of silicon? How long are they going to last? You can see this is why they've got to come back in 3 or 4 years' time, put up all the scaffolding and do all this again, because it just doesn't last. It just doesn't last. Isn't it amazing? Look at it. Tiny little brush. A lot of the stuff's like that, like we've showed you, you know. It's little nail guns and little saws and little bits of plastic, and it's all little stuff. Oh, this is funny. The guy's asleep in his car up there, right? He was the only guy on the site, so he was having a nice sleep in his car with the aircon running. In the meantime, down there, their cheap, dodgy mains water connection had broken. So there's a little fountain going on down here. And he was totally oblivious to it because he was having a little sleep up there with the aircon on. So cooling down the neighbourhood with this little fountain. I came back half an hour later and it had stopped, so someone must have spotted it. Oh, this was funny. So the unskilled concreter was working at our place, right close to that boundary, so caught all of this goings on. On the Sunday, the owner turned up with their in-laws. So it's a young couple with a screaming baby, as we anticipated, turned up with their in-laws on the Sunday and went inside the house and started making phone calls straight away. And you could sort of hear from the tone and from the body language and things that they were troubled. And then cars started turning up, and then the gas guy turned up, and then he started scratching his head and looking concerned and pointing out stuff to them about the front boundary of their house. And you could just see it was going bad, right? Cars turning up all over the place on a Sunday, and all these people with folders taking notes and sort of bowing deeply and sort of apologising. And I mean, I was trying not to be nosy, but it's hard not to notice. Look, you know, this is the view from the window of our house, right? So it's all going on right there. And lots of unhappy looking, concerned looking people. And it was all going bad. So obviously it was like handover time or something. And they were coming to inspect it to see what was going on. And it wasn't going well, apparently. So the real estate guy turned up, and the builder guy turned up, and the gas guys turned up, and a whole bunch of other people turned up. Looking all really concerned. And lots of photos were taken, and lots of stuff was written down. Lots of phone calls were made. Big meetings going on. And then guess who turned up, guys? How many times is this place being surveyed? When our block of land is the same size as these 4 blocks of land combined. Now, the surveyor's turned up again, and they've surveyed it again and started pulling all the markers out that had been put in by the last lot of surveyors and putting down new stakes. Now, those 4 blocks are the same size, roughly, as our 1 block. And when we had our block surveyed, the surveyors came for 1 day. They put in about 14 or 15 markers. We showed that on a previous video that our place is way not square. Boundaries all over the place. But he put in new markers. For about, the 9th time that place has been surveyed. We've showed you a few of the examples of it being surveyed. But there's been more than what we've showed you. And then the builders start breaking off bits of wall. And then might be a separate issue, this one. The letterbox, this post with the letterbox and the intercom on it apparently weren't straight or something. And so that's all been concreted and bitumened into the ground, right? So this guy had to come along with his jackhammer and dig it out. He was there for a long time digging it out because it was pretty deeply embedded in the ground to straighten it up because apparently it wasn't vertical or something. So yeah, knocking down bits of wall, redoing the letterbox with the intercom on it. And then the gas guys were really concerned. It seems that whatever's wrong with the boundary, the gas guys picked it up. They were measuring something from the center of the street, and their measurement must have showed that something was wrong with where the boundaries were marked, and must be relevant to the gas pipe coming in, because those guys were really concerned about where the gas pipe was going to go. So these are the gas pipe people, the gas company people. And they were putting up little blackboards with everything written on it and taking photos and marking things on maps and painting little marks on the ground and looking really concerned, really concerned. And they kept moving their little trucks. See, the little truck's got a little blackboard in the back, kept moving that up and down. Oh yeah, old mate's still over here working on his post. He was there all day on that one. So there you see they got the blackboard on the ground there and the photos and looking at the map and dear oh dear, dear oh dear. So at the end of this week, these other 3 houses pretty much hadn't been touched. Occasionally they'll come along and make a bit of noise in there, but mostly the other 3 haven't been touched. It's just been focusing on the disaster that is number 1 up here. So the entertainment continues. More videos coming soon.